I will once again offer a kind warning that if you are a viewer that is not comfortable with certain cultural notes being put on full display, then this is probably not the show for you. I will also offer a disclaimer that this will be delving into some of the themes and ideas and cultural notes that you are going to see in the premiere episode of this show. So, if you don't want any spoilers and you want to kind of experience the fullness of what's being discussed and put on display before you hear some interpretations on it, then you most likely want to stop here, watch the first episode, listen to the first recap notes, and then come back to the explanation notes on this particular video. But before I even talk on those things, I wanted to make a related note, a related but separate note on how very cool the future tech, actually the future contemporary tech that they're using in this show really is. Imagine Cash App or Venmo, but you don't actually have to use your phone. You literally just like tap your watch and like the exchange happens like midair right in front of you between you and whoever you're trying to do this financial transaction with. Imagine going through your phone list, but you don't actually, again, you don't need your phone. It's all kind of like on an air display for you to like choose from. If you've ever seen that movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, it's a sci-fi movie, not the movie you're thinking of, from like, I don't know how many years ago, but it's basically like that. You can actually design your living space with some kind of like little like sensor tube thing. It's so many like I want to say contemporary future tech items that they use. And it's like if they had this stuff now, because it's basically like items that we have now, but like kicked up about 5 notches and just like very cool, very sleek, very like easy to use. User interface is like spot on. If they had that stuff like now, which they should, for some reason, they stopped doing like upgrades in technology. We're pretty much using the same stuff over and over again, but just like the next edition of it, the 2025 edition. But I like how they like upgraded things that we are familiar with now, but made it like a little more future tech, a lot more appealing and sleek. But that's a total side note to everything that's happening. It's not really relative to the ideas and concepts that are chatted on. It's just something that I found very neat. Yeah, so as you're actually watching the second episode, you'll kind of get a better idea of what I'm kind of like talking about. Between those two, you'll be like, yeah. We definitely need that like now, like today. Like, where is it at? Why is nobody doing this? Jumping back to the actual storyline, Damascus himself is an everyman. He is the representative of a very specific demographic of persons. He's doing what that particular demographic of persons is usually not encouraged to do, and also usually does not think to do in and of themselves, which is to seek out therapy for the internal struggles and conflicts that he is currently feeling. As he visits this new therapist, and this is his first time experiencing a therapy session, she asks what brings him in, the standard usual question. And he answers, it's just him. He can feel people staring at him, talking about him, whispering, critiquing, studying, judging him. He, in his mind, has done nothing wrong other than to exist. And just by him existing and being in those people's spheres, he becomes a target, and it is causing him so much discomfort within himself. And he wants to get to the root of how he can move past feeling that internal discomfort based on external judgment. Basically, how can he step outside of the target that he feels like he has been placed inside of? How can he still live a happy, functioning, full life and lifestyle, even though externally others are watching him with a sharp and a very condemning eye, even though he, of his own accord, says that he's done nothing wrong to deserve this very harsh treatment of just his mere presence. The therapist suggests to him a very new and somewhat experimental, maybe a bit dangerous, they're not quite sure, new AI technique where he can delve into his subconscious and live out alternate pathways, timelines, and life choices to kind of help him get out of this target space that he feels that he is constantly standing within. And it's called DIRT, DIRT. I'm pretty sure they break down the acronym, but I'm pretty sure that has like a more metaphorical meaning to it, as in possibly digging in the dirt, getting to the root of the situation, is how it is somewhat presented to the audience. He needs to dig into himself, into the dirt of himself, into the root of himself, find what is causing this internal conflict based on external observations from others. During his initial session of using this new technology that allows him to travel into his subconscious and become a different version of himself, he experiences a life where he has a sibling. Now, keep in mind, as I mentioned in the previous recap, you know these people. And if you don't know them in person, you know someone who knows them, or you've seen them as a character on some form of entertainment. And that is the whole point. We, the audience, are the people that Damascus is referring to. We are the ones that are observing this particular culture, group, and demographic or sub-demographics of people, and making notes and judgments and external observations and sharp-eyed and side-eyed commentary upon them. Even sometimes without their knowledge, sometimes with their knowledge, and sometimes completely without them knowing. But we are the ones that Damascus is referring to. We are the ones that are casting this external judgment onto these persons, whether they be people that we know in real life or fictional characters that we observe from a TV screen or a phone screen. And we're the ones that are constantly making the judgments and the tight-eyed observations about these particular either real or characters. I add this note because as Damascus steps into this particular scenario that is about to play out, these events are going to sound and look very familiar to you as the episode goes on. However, you've never seen them presented most likely in such a in-your-face way. For it's not condescending. It's not really for entertainment. It's really to give you a bird's eye view of how we, the audience, see people from this demographic, whether that be in person or via entertainment. These are all the tropes and observations that we see and are usually presented to represent this group of people, whether it be fictional or whether it be embellished. This is how we most likely see this particular group. And because of that, this is how this group feels so uncomfortable and internally unsure of themselves because of the constant external judgment that is being, forced upon them. The themes and cultural notes that we're supposed to take note of are best explained through the different characters that Damascus meets during his initial AI therapy into his alternative life. Again, these are people, characters that we, the audience, are constantly having critical discourse on, but at a very superficial level. And that's how these characters are presented to us as tropes. Very superficial. We know just enough about them to make a judgment on or against them and not really diving too deep into the reasons why these persons have become the characters that they have become in this story. We first meet Damascus's half sister. In episode 2, we find out that they have the same mother, but their fathers are different. Damascus's father being present, his sister's father being absent. And in this way, you can see the difference in how the two children, now adults, have become in their life. Damascus being very successful, very put together, very level-headed. He thinks without acting. He has a lot of logic within himself to assess the situation. His sister, on the other hand, looks very thrown together. She looks very frazzled. She looks like not hanging on by a thread, but maybe hanging on by that last handful of threads. We see her being the aftermath of some type of domestic dispute with her boyfriend, whom Damascus encourages her to part ways with. And she says that she cannot because she has found out that she is now with child. In addition to that, she honestly does not want to part ways with this man. She just wants Damascus to do his brotherly duty according to their familial, cultural requirements, and basically put some violent fear into her boyfriend. Therefore, he won't attempt to abuse her physically anymore. That is her requirement that she demands from her brother. Again, these are supposed to be perceived or embellished cultural notes that we have observed in either the media or entertainment about this particular culture of people. Damascus wanting to do his best to provide that love and male support to his sister. He does not want to do this act, but he feels like him as being the man and part of that father figure that his sister did not have, but he did, feels as though, even though logically this makes no sense, he decides to go along with it. He finds a friend, an old friend, and calls this person up. At this point, we're introduced to a person from this particular demographic who made it out. The friend that he calls does something that is referred to as code switching very fluently while he is with his new colleagues at an elite level at the golf course. He puts on one act. He has his hair very slick and sleek. Murray's pomade, Google it and you'll see what I'm talking about. But then when he gets on the phone with Damascus, even though this man has a very upper echelon type job, he is very much ready to do this violent act because basically he's bored. This lifestyle is great. It provides money, it provides status, but it doesn't provide that heart-pumping entertainment that he grew up with, and he's willing to throw his hat into the arena one more time just to get some feeling back into his blood. We are then introduced to 3 more male characters who fit, again, the trope of this particular culture and demographic that we are presented very superficially with. We are presented with Damascus's uncle, who is, yes, I'm making air quotes, the OG. The man is literally dying of several physical ailments all at once. But according to his cultural notes, he must go out and protect the honor of his niece, despite the fact that it comes of great physical harm and strain to him. He does not know any other way of life. This is how he was raised, and this is how he is going to go out of this world. There is no logical in between. We're also introduced to the rapper, and this particular person is exactly who you are presented with in the media. He seems like he may be on some type of substance, but at the same time, he seems very flashy and fly. He is carrying several weapons for no particular reason, even though he has just recently left the county lockup. He is going along with this in order to basically get some type of favor with Damascus's professional friend, but morally, he doesn't see anything wrong with it. It is at this point that we meet the sister's boyfriend, and through a group conversation, he admits that while he has been physically abusive to his girlfriend has also likewise been physically abusive to him, and that they have been emotionally abusing each other. However, now that he has a child on the way, he realizes that he needs to change himself. He needs to uplift himself so that he can be a good example for his newborn once they arrive into this world. He wants to seek therapy. He wants to go into the root cause of why he has become so out of sorts. He wants to find positive male role models to help lead him into a better way of life, a grander career, a greater future for himself and his beloved girlfriend, like Damascus and like his professional friend. After he makes this confession, it makes the ending of this particular episode so much more heartbreaking, because this is a conclusion, a tragic ending that we've seen played out in real life, in media, and in entertainment, and on social media as well. After the boyfriend decides he wants to change his ways, after all of the men in the room decide that they want to help him to change his ways, a tragic event unfolds. Through a series of bizarre instances, which leads to the uncle accidentally stabbing himself and the entertainer accidentally pulling out the random weapon that he's carrying around with, a gunshot fires off into the air. There is an awful sense of surrealness as the scene transitions seamlessly from a moment of healing to humor to tragedy, as the camera pans around the room to see who has been struck by this stray bullet. We go from Damascus to the ailing uncle to the rapper to the professional friend, where the camera finally lands on the boyfriend, who has unfortunately been hit and struck in the head and is currently laying on the couch with his eyes wide open, no longer present in the world. So this man who wanted to rise above the generational trauma that was handed down to him and the emotional and physical trauma that he inflicted upon others, who wanted to heal all of that pain and tragedy to help create a better world for himself and for his newborn child that was on the way, will no longer get that opportunity through an unnecessary act of violence. We, the audience, are left in shock and awe, but we rounded out exactly where Damascus began. We talk, we make judgments, we add assumptions. We forget that behind all of these events are real people who may want to make real change in their lives, but through fate, through circumstance, through a series of unknown events, sometimes tragic, they might never get that chance. But still, we sit, we observe, we watch, we chatter. But did we try to help to make a positive change?